Hello, future medical professionals. Welcome to an exciting journey through the human body. Today, we are diving into Class 11 Biology, Chapter Excretory Products and Their Elimination, focusing specifically on the disorders that can affect our crucial excretory system. We'll explore common kidney ailments, understand their causes, symptoms, and treatments. From basic definitions to competitive level insights, this session will prepare you for the NEET exam. Get ready for a 4-level challenge: easy, medium, hard, and hardest. Let's start with the basics. Ever wondered what happens when your kidneys, your body's amazing filters, run into trouble? Let's uncover some common issues. First up, kidney stones also known as renal calculi. Imagine tiny, hard pebbles forming inside your kidneys. That's essentially what they are. These deposits are made of minerals and salts. They can form due to simple reasons like not drinking enough water, or more complex ones like diet and genetics. The most common symptom? Excruciating pain as they try to pass. Next, we have glomerulonephritis***. This is when the tiny filters in your kidneys, called glomeruli, become inflamed. Think of it like a clogged, irritated filter. This inflammation can be triggered by infections, like strep throat, or even autoimmune diseases where your body mistakenly attacks itself. When your glomeruli are damaged, they can't effectively clean your blood, leading to issues like blood or protein appearing in your urine. Finally, we discuss renal failure often simply called kidney failure. This is a serious condition where your kidneys lose their ability to filter waste and excess fluid from your blood. It can happen suddenly, which we call acute renal failure, or gradually over time, known as chronic renal failure. Causes range from direct kidney damage to severe dehydration, or long-term conditions like uncontrolled diabetes or high blood pressure. Common symptoms include feeling tired all the time, swelling in your legs and ankles due to fluid retention, and a noticeable decrease in how much you urinate. Understanding these basic disorders is your first step to mastering this topic. Time to test your understanding of these fundamental concepts. Take a moment to answer these 3 questions. Which disorder involves hard deposits forming in the kidneys? Inflammation of the kidneys filtering units is called what? And what is a common symptom of renal failure related to fluid retention? Pause the video if you need more time, and then we'll move on to a deeper dive. Ready to go a bit deeper? Let's explore more complex aspects of excretory disorders, understanding their mechanisms and varied presentations. Our first medium-level topic is uremia***. This isn't just a symptom, but a severe condition where urea and other nitrogenous waste products build up to toxic levels in your blood, often indicating end-stage renal disease. It manifests with symptoms like nausea, vomiting, confusion, and muscle cramps, and urgently requires intervention, usually dialysis. Next, let's refine our understanding of kidney stones***. We learned they are deposits, but there are different types. Calcium oxalate stones** are the most common, often linked to diet. Uric acid stones** are seen in conditions like gout, and struvite stones** frequently occur with urinary tract infections. Finally, the rare cystine stones** are genetic. Recognizing these types helps in treatment and prevention strategies. Moving on to the pathophysiology of glomerulonephritis**. The inflammation we discussed earlier isn't just a simple swelling. It involves complex immune responses where immune complexes deposit in the tiny filters, damaging the glomerular basement membrane and specialized cells called podocytes. This damage makes the filters leaky and less efficient, leading to telltale signs like protein and red blood cells in your urine. Diagnosis often involves urine tests, blood tests for kidney function, and sometimes even a kidney biopsy for a definitive picture. Understanding these mechanisms is key to appreciating the disease's impact on filtration. Our final medium-level disorder is pyelonephritis***. This is a serious bacterial infection that affects the kidney pelvis and the kidney tissue itself. Unlike a simple bladder infection, pyelonephritis can be quite severe, often starting as a urinary tract infection that travels upwards to the kidneys. Symptoms include high fever, chills, intense back pain, and painful urination. If left untreated, it can cause significant kidney damage. Prompt treatment with antibiotics is crucial to prevent long-term complications. These deeper insights into disorders provide a more comprehensive view of excretory system challenges. Now, let's solidify your understanding with 5 practice questions at the medium difficulty level. What is the medical term for the accumulation of nitrogenous waste products like urea in the blood? Which type of kidney stone is most commonly associated with urinary tract infections? Explain how glomerulonephritis leads to the presence of protein in urine. Describe 2 common symptoms of pyelonephritis. And finally, besides calcium oxalate, name 1 other type of kidney stone. Take your time to formulate your answers. Alright, it's time to step up our game. The hard level will challenge your analytical skills, connecting disorders to broader physiological theories and treatments. First, let's critically differentiate acute versus chronic renal failure ***. Acute renal failure is a sudden, often reversible loss of kidney function, typically caused by events like severe dehydration, significant blood loss, or certain medications. Chronic renal failure, on the other hand, is a gradual and progressive loss of kidney function over months or years, which is usually irreversible. Long-standing conditions like diabetes and uncontrolled high blood pressure are the most common culprits. Understanding this distinction is vital for accurate diagnosis and timely intervention. Next, we delve into the advanced pathophysiology of glomerulonephritis ***. This isn't just inflammation, it's a complex immunological battle. Antibody-antigen complexes deposit in the glomeruli, triggering an inflammatory cascade that damages the delicate filtration barrier, including the glomerular basement membrane and podocytes. This damage leads to a reduced glomerular filtration rate, allowing large molecules like proteins and red blood cells to leak into the urine, which are key diagnostic indicators. When kidneys fail completely, we turn to advanced treatments. Let's explore the *** management of end-stage renal disease, ESRD, through dialysis ***. We have 2 main types, hemodialysis ***, where blood is drawn from the patient, filtered by an artificial kidney called a dialyzer using a semi-permeable membrane, and then returned. The principle here is diffusion and ultrafiltration. Alternatively, peritoneal dialysis involves introducing a special fluid, the dialysate, into the patient's abdominal cavity. The peritoneum, a membrane lining the abdomen, acts as a natural filter, allowing waste to diffuse from blood vessels into the dialysate, which is then drained. Both methods replace kidney function but differ significantly in procedure and lifestyle impact. Next, the ultimate solution for ESRD, kidney transplantation ***. This involves surgically replacing a diseased kidney with a healthy one from a donor. The primary challenge? Preventing the recipient's immune system from rejecting the new organ, which requires lifelong immunosuppressive medications. Careful donor matching, particularly of HLA antigens, is crucial to minimize rejection risk. Finally, let's connect disorders to the broader regulatory mechanisms of the body with the ** role of atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP, in kidney function ***. ANP is a hormone secreted by the Hertz atria in response to increased blood volume and pressure. Its primary role is to counteract the effects of systems that conserve fluid, like the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. In the kidneys, ANP promotes the dilation of afferent arterioles and constriction of efferent arterioles, thereby increasing the glomerular filtration rate. It also inhibits sodium reabsorption in the renal tubules and suppresses the release of renin, aldosterone, and ADH. The overall effect is increased sodium and water excretion, leading to a reduction in blood volume and blood pressure. This highlights the intricate hormonal regulation that can be disrupted in various excretory disorders. It's time for some challenging practice questions. Differentiate between acute and chronic renal failure based on their onset and reversibility. Explain the primary immunological mechanism involved in the damage to glomeruli during glomerulonephritis. Compare and contrast hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis, highlighting one advantage and one disadvantage of each. What is the main challenge associated with kidney transplantation, and how is it managed? Describe the physiological conditions that stimulate ANP release and its subsequent effects on kidney function. Consider a patient with sudden kidney failure due to severe dehydration. How would you classify this, and why? Lastly, how does damage to podocytes in glomerulonephritis contribute to proteinuria? Think critically about these scenarios. Welcome to the hardest level. Here, we'll dive deep into the molecular, cellular, and engineering aspects of excretory disorders, preparing you for the most competitive exams. Get ready for a comprehensive, multi-facets exploration. Let's begin with the detailed pathogenesis of renal calculi ****. Stone formation is a complex, multi-step process. It starts with supersaturation where urine becomes overly concentrated with stone-forming salts like calcium oxalate or uric acid. This leads to nucleation the initial formation of tiny crystals, often around a microscopic nidus like cell debris. These crystals then undergo growth and aggregation forming a larger stone. The balance between urinary inhibitors, like citrate, which prevent stone formation, and promoters, like oxalate, is critical. We also classify stones into types: calcium stones, the most common, uric acid stones linked to gout, struvite stones often associated with chronic UTIs, and rare genetic cystine stones. Next, we move to advanced aspects of glomerulonephritis classification and pathologies ****. Glomerulonephritis isn't a single disease, it's a spectrum. We distinguish primary glomerulonephritis which originates in the kidney, like IgA nephropathy or minimal change disease, from secondary glomerulonephritis which arises from systemic diseases such as diabetic nephropathy or lupus nephritis. Understanding the specific histopathological changes, like mesangial expansion or podocyte effacement, helps differentiate conditions like nephritic syndrome, characterized by inflammation and blood in urine, from nephrotic syndrome, marked by massive protein loss and severe edema. Now, let's explore the engineering and principles of dialysis systems ****. Hemodialysis relies on a sophisticated machine with a dialyzer often called an artificial kidney. The dialyzer contains thousands of hollow fibers made of a semi-permeable membrane. Blood flows through these fibers, while a cleansing solution called dialysate flows in the opposite direction on the outside. This countercurrent flow maximizes the concentration gradient, ensuring efficient diffusion of waste products like urea and creatinine from the blood into the dialysate. Additionally, a pressure gradient is applied for ultrafiltration removing excess water. For peritoneal dialysis a permanent catheter is surgically inserted into the abdomen. Dialysate, typically containing glucose, is infused into the peritoneal cavity. The peritoneum, a natural semi-permeable membrane, allows waste products from the blood in the surrounding capillaries to diffuse into the dialysate due to the osmotic pull of glucose. After a dwell time, the fluid is drained. While highly effective, both methods come with specific complications, such as hypertension and access site infections for hemodialysis and peritonitis for peritoneal dialysis. Let's delve into the immunological basis of kidney transplantation and rejection ***. The success of a transplant hinges on overcoming the recipient's immune response to the foreign donor organ. HLA matching referring to human leukocyte antigens, is critical because these proteins on cell surfaces can trigger immune rejection. Better HLA matching significantly reduces the risk. There are different types of rejection. Hyperacute rejection occurs almost immediately due to pre-existing antibodies, leading to rapid graft failure. Acute rejection happens within days to months, mediated by T cells or antibodies, and is often treatable with increased immunosuppression. Chronic rejection is a gradual, long-term decline in function, influenced by both immune and non-immune factors. To prevent these, recipients must adhere to lifelong immunosuppressive regimens typically a combination of drugs. These include calcineurin inhibitors like cyclosporin, which inhibit T cell activation, antiproliferatives such as mycophenolate mofetil, which prevent lymphocyte multiplication, and corticosteroids for their general anti-inflammatory effects. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial for managing transplant patients. Next, we examine two major causes of chronic kidney disease, diabetic nephropathy and hypertensive nephropathy ***. In diabetic nephropathy chronic hyperglycemia causes structural changes in the glomeruli, including thickening of the glomerular basement membrane, expansion of the mesangial matrix, and podocyte injury. This leads to progressive albuminuria and a decline in GFR. Hypertensive nephropathy results from chronic high blood pressure damaging renal arterioles, causing ischemia and atrophy of nephrons, which in turn reduces renal blood flow and GFR. These conditions highlight how systemic diseases profoundly impact kidney health. Finally, we explore renal tubular acidosis, RTA, a group of disorders affecting the kidney's ability to maintain acid-base balance. RTA is characterized by impaired acid excretion or bicarbonate reabsorption by the renal tubules, leading to metabolic acidosis. There are distinct types, type 1, or distal RTA where the distal tubules fail to excrete hydrogen ions, leading to alkaline urine, hypokalemia, and often calcium phosphate kidney stones. Type 2, or proximal RTA involves the inability of the proximal tubules to reabsorb bicarbonate effectively, resulting in bicarbonate wasting. Type 4, or hyperkalemic RTA is associated with aldosterone deficiency or resistance, causing both hyperkalemia and metabolic acidosis. These conditions underscore the intricate role of renal tubules in electrolyte and acid-base homeostasis. The consequences of chronic metabolic acidosis can be severe, including growth retardation in children, bone demineralization, and further kidney stone formation. Mastering these complex disorders provides a comprehensive understanding of excretory system pathology, crucial for competitive exams and future medical practice. Let's tackle some advanced questions. Explain the supersaturation and nucleation steps in the detailed pathogenesis of kidney stone formation and name two factors that can promote stone growth. Differentiate between primary and secondary glomerulonephritis, providing one example for each category. Describe the engineering principle of countercurrent flow in a hemodialyzer and explain how it enhances the efficiency of waste removal. Outline the three main types of kidney transplant rejection based on their onset, and briefly explain the immunological basis for hyperacute rejection. Compare the initial pathophysiological changes in the glomeruli caused by diabetic nephropathy versus the vascular damage seen in hypertensive nephropathy. Take your time to formulate thorough, detailed answers. Here are 5 more challenging questions to solidify your expertise. A patient presents with massive proteinuria, severe edema, and hypoalbuminemia. Which clinical syndrome is most likely indicated, and what common primary glomerulonephritis in children leads to this syndrome? Explain how a permanent catheter is utilized in peritoneal dialysis, detailing the role of glucose in the dialysate. What is the significance of HLA matching in kidney transplantation? And name 3 classes of immunosuppressive drugs used to prevent rejection. Describe the key defect in type 1 renal tubular acidosis, also known as distal RTA, and its characteristic electrolyte imbalance and risk of stone formation. Finally, in the context of kidney stones, why are struvite stones often associated with urinary tract infections, and what is the specific bacterial enzyme involved? These questions require a deep understanding of the concepts we've covered. And that brings us to the end of our comprehensive session on excretory products and their elimination disorders. I hope you've gained a profound understanding, from basic concepts to the most advanced topics, preparing you thoroughly for your NET exams. Remember, consistent learning and practice are key to success. For more such engaging and in-depth educational content, visit our website at synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for regular updates and new content. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep aiming for excellence. See you in the next session.